common knowledge at this point that popular creepypastas are notoriously hit or miss, to the point where even if everyone was talking about it, you had no idea if the story was any good. But what was always guaranteed is that at least one part of the story would hook you in, and depending on the pasta, it could be the story, the idea behind it, or a photo that would embed itself into your psyche. Many creepypastas would also lure you in with the fact that it was already based off of an already well-known IP, but those things wouldn't stick with you as much as the other three. If you didn't have one of those three, then your story would not be successful whatsoever. I mean, let's look at some of the most popular examples. First off, Jeff the Killer. This has got to be one of the absolute worst written creepypastas that I've ever read, but it is also one of the most popular ones ever written. So why is that? Well, the image that came along with it was frankly horrifying. Like seriously, this image was all kinds of fucked up. It would stick with you for a while. I remember when I first saw it, I couldn't get out of my head for the longest time. 1999 was another story that did one thing extremely well, and that was creating an extremely horrific idea behind a monster, as it was something that would stick with whoever was reading it by making it so the crazy man killing kids in the story was sacrificing them to the devil. While the story itself isn't great and leaves much to be desired, it connects to a certain part of your brain that just finds that idea to be one of the most extreme and horrific things to be put to text. And some stories did two of those things really well, like Baraska, which is one of the best written and original ideas that creepypastas have ever had, to the point that an image wasn't even needed for the story to be remembered due to the extremely high quality of the story. Abandoned by Disney is another one that did two things really well, as the image and idea behind the story are some of the best and most original in all of the creepypasta fandom, but the actual story itself is just okay, nothing too special. But you may be asking yourself, have there really been any creepypastas that have been able to do all three perfectly and just keep you on edge the whole time? Well, yes, quite a few have, but before going any further, only 0.8% of you guys watching are subscribed. So if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe because it helps me a lot. Also, make sure to leave a comment down below if you liked the video, and thank you. And let's continue along with the actual video. Now, there's a lot of creepypastas that I think perfected the formula of what made them so special, but let's go over just a couple of them. First off, there's Godzilla NES, which came out with one of the most haunting and memorable creature designs put to text with the character of Red, and also came along with a flurry of creepy and frightening images to go along with it, while also still having one of the most creepy and memorable ideas and stories of any creepypasta. The only thing that really held it back was the quite terrible ending that really killed the horror of the awful situation that was happening to our protagonist. And two more stories that also did it all correctly were the Russian sleep experiment along with the rake, which just did everything perfectly, with both stories being enough to keep you from sleeping most days. Those aren't the ones that I wanted to cover, and that is because the one I wanted to cover has, I think, one of the best mixes of all three, but also has one of the most frightening and memorable as well as well-designed photos to go along with it. And this one is seemingly not talked about as much as all the other ones, but still is extremely popular, just seems to have been forgotten with time, and that is of course And that story is of course that of the Smile Dog, which is one of the original creepypastas to rapidly blow up online for its unique story and off-putting image. The story itself is quite simple and really allows the image to shine in its horror. The story follows a young journalist as he goes to check out the local urban legend of a chainmail image that supposedly curses whoever views it by the name of smile.jpg. And throughout the story he explores the supposed effects of viewing the cursed image. The effects being that each and every single night the creature in the image would come into your dreams asking you to spread the word, meaning to share the image to others in order to give them the curse instead of you. Almost being like an image version of the monster from It Follows, as that is the only possible way to get the cursed image to leave you completely alone. And if you don't spread the image, this creature will slowly get more and more disturbing, to the point that it won't even look like a dog anymore by the end of it, but instead a hellish beast that would fit right in with the worst of the worst night terrors. And if you keep having these night terrors, you will have to keep having them until they drive you to the brink of insanity. And the main goal of it is to try and get you to take your own life if you refuse to spread the word. And in the story, he goes to interview a married couple, Terrence and Mary, with Mary having viewed the image around 1992 and was one of 400 people who viewed it, but the rest died either anonymous or died from their experience. The first time he went to interview her, she had locked herself in the bedroom, refusing to come out, showing the awful effects the photo had had on her psyche. By the time he is actually able to interview her, she is a shell of a human being, whispering to her husband about the awful night terrors that she's experiencing as her life seems to be consumed by the horrors of the image that she viewed. And this causes our protagonist to just get even more interested in what this possible image could be, because he sees the effects but he doesn't know what could possibly in the image cause such great effects. After sending the protagonist an email explaining that the horrors of the image is just too much for her and the constant night terrors have finally broken her, she explains that she had refused to show him the image because there is no possible way that she wanted him to suffer the same fate as her, even if it meant it would save her life from the awful night terrors that she has to witness every single night. And after receiving the email, he makes one last attempt to talk to her by calling her number, but instead Terrence picks up explaining that she had finally given up and had died. Suddenly, after thinking the possibility of actually seeing the image is next to zero, he gets an email from an unknown user which reads, "Hello. I found your email address through a mailing list and your profile says you are interested in Smile Dog. I have seen it. It's not as bad as everyone says. I have sent it to you here. Just spreading the word." Attached to the email was of course a file called smile.jpg, and he had received the Smile Dog image finally, but would actually opening the image be worth it? He had seen what it had done to Mary and just how much it had completely destroyed her mental state, as well as hearing about how awful the night terrors just truly were that came along with it. And if it came along with it, would he truly be selfish enough to spread the word if he opened the file and the rumors be completely true about the image? Well, of course, with it being a horror story, he of course opens it, attaching the image to the bottom of the creepypasta in order to once again spread the word to everyone reading it. This pasta reads like a perfect campfire story, allowing the viewer's imagination to wander by describing the effects of the image, but not actually showing the image till the very end, allowing you to think what this horrible image could look like if this is what happened to this woman. And the actual reveal itself is set up almost perfectly, with the chainmail being sent to the protagonist just like many others before him, and the ending of him spreading the word just like the dog said to do multiple times throughout the story. And by explaining the effects of the image, the reveal of the image itself is just that effective. It just allows it to seep into your psyche and stay with you for a long time. And the image itself is also equally horrifying, as it allows your mind to wander while viewing it, because it's just such a creepy and horrifying idea while staying relatively simple. While the image itself is not exactly the thing of nightmares, the fact behind the image supposedly causing you to have endless night terrors is just simply horrifying, and allows the image to have a level of creepiness that it would not have if it was just shown by itself. And there's just something so creepy about the dead eyes and the wide unnatural smile of the dog that really adds to the image, as well as the bloodied hand in the background. It makes it look like the dog is torturing one of its victims in the background of the image. And the image itself looks like it came out of the darkest pit of hell, just like the hell it puts the viewer viewer of the image through after viewing the photo. Then there's the hellish demon it slowly becomes throughout the story, which also is a photo that goes along with it being this. And that just makes the story even worse, knowing that each and every single night that you see it, it's just going to get worse and worse till you either end it or spread the word. There is no escape from it without either hurting yourself or someone else, which just makes the whole idea behind the story that much more disturbing, as you have to choose which one you are willing to pick. So it does all three things right. It has a scary, memorable image and a well planned out and horrific idea behind the story, and the execution of the story itself is perfect for making the viewer as creeped out as possible. And that's why, even though Smile Dog has been mostly forgotten by the internet, it's still one of the creepiest and best creepypastas out there. And before I end the video, I just wanted to say, wow, I was not expecting to hit 800 subscribers this fast, let alone 870. I just can't put into words how grateful I am that of all people to follow, you guys choose me. I never really thought I would be able to make it to this point, so seeing that I'm at 870 subscribers, I'm just blown away, and I'm so happy that you guys are willing to come and watch my stuff. And as always, see you guys next week.